What if the life you know is not the life you live, but the echo of something long past? Imagine death not as an end, but a boundary crossed, after which your consciousness ripples in waves, distorted, faded, yet still perceptible. This echo isn't mere fantasy. It could be the very fabric of your existence right now. As you drift between wakefulness and sleep, this script will take you on a hypnotic journey through the shadows of mortality, memory, and the fragile boundary, where life blurs into death's lingering whisper. Welcome to the echo of your own demise. The sensation that what you experience is not the original event, but a reflection, a shadow of what once was, forms the foundation of an unsettling idea. What if the life you're living now is not the primary reality, but an echo reverberating through a different dimension, the afterlife, a liminal space or a residual consciousness? This concept challenges everything we understand about death and existence itself. Instead of finality, death becomes a threshold, and what follows is a fading resonance of our former selves, looping in an endless cycle of memory and sensation. Modern physics hints at echoes in the universe. Light can reverberate, sound can bounce, and energy can persist beyond the initial source. What if consciousness behaves the same way? Your awareness, your thoughts, your sense of self could be like a sound wave bouncing through the vast corridors of existence, a ghostly imprint of what once was vibrant life. This perspective invites us to question what real means. Are we alive now, or are we existing in a continuous aftershock of death? The brain itself provides a metaphor for this echo. Memories are not perfect recordings, but reconstructions. Echoes replayed with gaps and distortions. Neurologists have shown that what you remember today is reshaped each time you recall it, a faded copy of a copy, an echo evolving over time. Could your current self be a similar reconstruction, a copy of a copy, caught in an endless loop of fading awareness? Philosophers have long debated the nature of consciousness and death. The idea of an afterlife or soul implies continuity beyond bodily death. But what if continuity isn't direct? What if your consciousness doesn't move on intact, but becomes fragmented into echoes, snippets of sensation trapped in a timeless loop? The echoes might explain déjà vu, fleeting memories, or the mysterious sense of having lived before. Neuroscience offers even more strange phenomena. Near-death experiences, tunnel visions, and out-of-body sensations suggest the brain and consciousness do not cease immediately with physical death, but transition through altered states. These could be echoes, lingering waves of consciousness after the body's main system fails. Your current experience might be one such wave, a residual shimmer. This echo theory also explains why life feels like a dream sometimes, why reality blurs at the edges. If you are living in an echo, the original source is gone, and what remains is distorted, fragmented and ephemeral. This might be why time feels elastic in moments of deep contemplation or near sleep, why memories feel both real and unreal. Some traditions in mysticism and spiritual philosophy hint at similar ideas. The concept of samsara, the cycle of death and rebirth, is often described as repetitive echoes of life, a loop from which breaking free means escaping these reverberations. What if we are stuck in such a loop, a spiritual echo chamber, where death happened once, but its reverberations continue endlessly? Scientifically, echoes decay with time. They lose energy until they vanish. What does that mean for consciousness echoes? Could your existence be slowly fading away, a dying wave shrinking until silence? Or is there a mechanism that sustains this echo, feeding it with fragments of collective memory or universal energy? This section of thought invites a quiet reckoning with mortality. If death has already happened, and this is the echo, how does that change your understanding of life? Does it diminish your actions, or make them more precious as ripples that resonate beyond the apparent? Can you find peace in knowing you are a lingering trace, a whisper of something profound? As you listen and sink deeper into the boundaries of wakefulness and sleep, let the idea of echoes settle gently. Consider that what you call life might be a haunting afterglow, beautiful, mysterious, and transient. This echo might be your last gift, the fading music of your existence, inviting you to explore what lies beyond the silence. What if the afterlife we imagine, the heaven, the hell, the peaceful void, is not a destination, but a trick of the echo itself? Imagine that after death, consciousness does not move on to some grand next phase, but instead becomes trapped within the very illusion of an afterlife, a mirage generated by the reverberations of the mind and universe. This idea reframes the afterlife from a hopeful promise into a spectral reflection, a phantom realm created by the echo of your own death, looping endlessly in a hall of mirrors. Human cultures have envisioned afterlives for millennia, painting visions of paradise or torment, rebirth or eternal rest. These stories comfort the living and give meaning to the dead. But if death has already happened and this life is the echo, perhaps these afterlives are just echoes of echoes, memories of what was once believed, layered and distorted through time. The afterlife becomes a construct, not of an external reality, but of the internal reflection of consciousness as it decays and distorts. Neurological research offers clues that the afterlife experience could be an echo-generated illusion. Near-death experiences, NDEs, often include bright lights, tunnels, loved ones, and a sense of peace or judgment. However, these experiences are consistent with brain activity patterns during extreme trauma, where oxygen deprivation and neural disruptions create vivid but synthetic perceptions. This suggests the afterlife images could be echoes, neural reverberations in the dying brain, fragments of memory and expectation replayed like a broken record. The afterlife illusion might be a final safety net created by the brain's instinctual desire to survive. The mind, facing the end of existence, fabricates a comforting or terrifying scene to process the transition. But what if this final hallucination is not confined to the moment of death? What if it expands into a persistent echo state, where consciousness lingers in a ghostly simulacrum of the afterlife, replaying the same illusions repeatedly? Your current awareness might be a flickering ghost within this echo-constructed realm. Philosophically, this idea blurs the lines between reality and belief. If the afterlife is an echo-driven illusion, what does that say about the power of belief itself? Does the echo sustain itself by the weight of collective faith and cultural stories? Could your personal afterlife experience be colored by the myths passed down through generations, a ghostly feedback loop where your echo conforms to expectation rather than truth? From a metaphysical perspective, the afterlife illusion could be a collective dream shared among echoes, a communal mirage shaped by thousands or millions of fragmented consciousnesses trapped in overlapping echoes. Like multiple ripples in a pond interacting, these echoes could merge into shared visions, explaining why afterlife stories often contain common elements across vastly different cultures and epochs. Perhaps you are not alone in this echo. Your afterlife is a shared hallucination sustained by interconnected reverberations. If this theory holds, it presents a paradox. The afterlife as a place beyond death is actually a realm within death's echo, a shadow world that traps consciousness rather than frees it. The very hope of eternal life could be the mechanism of entrapment. It is as if the echo refuses to let go, wrapping itself in comforting illusions to sustain the fading presence of what once was alive. This notion also shifts how we perceive death itself. Instead of a clean severance, death becomes the entrance to a prolonged and complex experience of fading echoes and illusions. The traditional fear of the unknown after death might be replaced with a deeper anxiety, that death is a slow unraveling of consciousness caught in the afterlife's echo chamber, where time dilates and identity fragments. What implications does this have for your life now? If you are already inside the echo, living inside an afterlife illusion, then every moment is both real and unreal, a palimpsest of fading echoes. Your memories, feelings, and perceptions are not only yours but also the remnants of the echo, blending past life and afterlife into a single tapestry. This idea offers a strange comfort and a chilling warning. Comfort, because the echo suggests continuity beyond the physical body, that some part of you persists, even if distorted. Warning, because it implies entrapment, being stuck in a looping reverberation, unable to move on to a true finality or rebirth. It is an endless twilight between worlds. Ultimately, the afterlife illusion asks us to rethink what it means to die and what it means to be alive. Perhaps life and death are not opposites, but overlapping states, with the afterlife as a liminal zone, a shimmering, echoing space where consciousness flickers and fades like a candle in the wind. As you sink deeper into this thought, allow yourself to release any rigid ideas about death and afterlife. Embrace the mystery of the echo, the uncertainty of what is real and what is reflected. In this space between certainty and doubt, you might find a calm surrender to the endless dance of being and non-being, an echo that invites you to simply be, even as you fade. Imagine consciousness not as a static, contained spark, but as a vibration, a resonance that arises, lingers, and fades in a vast field of existence. This perspective sees awareness less like a light bulb switched on and off, and more like a bell struck once, sending ripples of sound echoing outward. If death has already happened, and this life is the echo, then your consciousness could be the fading resonance of that original strike, still vibrating through the void. Resonance is a phenomenon well known in physics and engineering. When an object vibrates at a certain frequency, it can induce vibrations in other objects tuned to that same frequency, amplifying or sustaining the sound. Applied metaphorically to consciousness, resonance suggests that awareness might continue after physical death by echoing across dimensions or layers of reality, sustained by subtle energies or interconnected minds. Some theories in quantum physics hint at entanglement and coherence, where particles remain connected despite distance, sharing states instantaneously. If consciousness is quantum-based, it could behave as a resonant wave, intertwined with universal frequencies. This might explain why memories, emotions, or sensations seem to persist or reoccur. They are echoes reverberating in this quantum resonance field. The brain's architecture also supports the resonance idea. Neural oscillations, rhythmic electrical patterns in the brain, underpin how we perceive, think, and feel. These oscillations synchronize across regions to produce unified conscious experience. What if, after physical death, these oscillations continue faintly, like a fading echo, outside normal time and space? What you experience now could be this lingering neural resonance, a ghost of your former neural symphony. This resonant consciousness could explain many odd phenomena: déjà vu, precognition, and even collective unconscious experiences. If minds can resonate together, they might create shared echoes, fragments of memory or knowledge that feel like spontaneous insight or intuition. This could be the echo chamber, where your consciousness vibrates in sync with others, producing experiences that feel both personal and universal. Consider also how resonance can amplify or distort. A tuning fork's clear tone can become muffled, altered, or enriched, depending on the environment. Your consciousness, as an echo, might be similarly shaped by the space it occupies, the afterlife illusion, or echo realm. Some echoes might be vibrant and clear, while others are warped, faint, or fragmented. This variability could explain why people report vastly different near-death or afterlife experiences. Philosophers who explore panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a fundamental property of all matter, often imply a form of resonance. If consciousness permeates the universe, then individual minds could be waves within a greater field, creating interference patterns, harmonics, and echoes. Your individual awareness might be one node in a vast resonant web, echoing long after your physical form ends. In this context, identity becomes fluid, rather than a single, unchanging self-consciousness, as resonance suggests a dynamic interplay of vibrations, constantly shifting and interacting. The echo you experience now could be a distorted fragment, a resonance caught between past life and afterlife, caught in a liminal frequency band, where memory and presence intertwine. This idea gently challenges the common notion of a permanent soul or spirit. Instead of a fixed essence, consciousness might be better described as a transient vibration, beautiful but fleeting, an ephemeral note in the cosmic symphony. Death doesn't extinguish the note instantly. It allows it to linger as an echo, slowly dissipating, but still audible to those attuned. From a psychological perspective, thinking of consciousness as resonance encourages acceptance of impermanence and change. If you are an echo, a vibration in flux, then clinging to a rigid identity is like trying to grasp a fading sound. Peace comes not from resisting the fade, but from flowing with it, tuning into the natural rhythm of rise and fall. The resonance model also suggests a bridge between science and spirituality. It offers a framework to understand mystical experiences, feelings of oneness, timelessness, or expanded awareness, as moments when consciousness resonates beyond its usual boundaries. These moments might be glimpses of the echo realm, where the veil between life and death thins, and the resonance of being becomes palpable. If your consciousness is a resonance, then your experiences now are echoes layered over the original vibration of your life. This layering might create the feeling that you are both here and not here, real and unreal. It explains the blurred edges of dreams, memories, and moments of altered perception, all hallmarks of echo consciousness. Practically, this suggests that the quality of your resonance matters. Emotional states, thoughts, and intentions could influence how your consciousness echoes. Positive, calm vibrations might sustain a clearer, more harmonious echo, while turmoil or fear could create distorted, noisy reverberations. This may hint at why some near-death experiences are peaceful and others chaotic. Ultimately, viewing consciousness as resonance invites humility and wonder. It encourages you to consider yourself as part of a vast vibrating universe, a note in an eternal chord, an echo in an infinite hall. Whether this echo fades quietly or merges back into the source, It is a reminder that existence is a dynamic, flowing vibration rather than a fixed, permanent thing. As you drift between wakefulness and sleep, allow your mind to feel the resonance of your being, the gentle oscillations that connect you to everything and everyone. In this echo, find calm acceptance and curiosity, the hum of life continuing beyond the boundary of death, vibrating softly in the silence. Time is often thought of as a steady river flowing in one direction, from past to present to future. But what if time itself is fractured, distorted, and looping in the echo after death? If your current existence is the ripple of a life already ended, then the very fabric of time you experience could be warped, a broken reflection that bends and twists instead of flowing linearly. In physics, time is more fluid than we tend to believe. Einstein's theory of relativity revealed that time slows down or speeds up depending on relative motion and gravity, and quantum theories propose even stranger possibilities of multiple timelines or timeless states. Within the echo framework, time may not be a straight line but a looped spiral, a fragmented and layered illusion. Your consciousness might be caught in this distorted reflection of time, a place where past, present, and future blur. Memories feel fresh yet distant, experiences overlap, and moments stretch or compress unpredictably. This could explain phenomena like déjà vu, flashbacks, or the sensation of time slowing down during intense moments. These are glimpses of the fractured time within the echo. If death occurred once, then this echo exists outside conventional time, replaying the original life's vibrations but with distortions, overlaps, and gaps. Time here is like an old film reel, scratched and tangled. Scenes repeat, skip, or fade. Your experience might be replayed imperfectly, fragments resurfacing in unexpected order, looping endlessly like a broken record. The liminal space of the echo could also produce what feels like timelessness, moments where you feel suspended, disconnected from past or future. This suspension reflects a break in the usual flow of time, a signature of existing in the echo rather than the original life. It's a place where cause and effect lose their grip, and moments become elastic. Psychologically, distorted time perception is common in altered states of consciousness, such as dreams, meditation, or near-death experiences. People often report feeling like they have lived whole lifetimes in seconds, or that time stretched indefinitely. This is consistent with the echo theory, where consciousness experiences a warped temporal landscape after death. This distortion also alters how identity is experienced. If time is no longer linear, the story of you becomes fragmented. Your past selves, present self, and possible futures might coexist as echoes overlapping. You might sense multiple versions of yourself simultaneously, like reflections in a hall of mirrors that shift and multiply. Philosophically, time distortion challenges the way we define existence. If you live in a time-bent echo, your understanding of cause and consequence, choice and destiny, changes dramatically. Events may seem predetermined, repetitive, or disconnected from meaningful progression. The echo traps you in cycles where beginnings and ends are blurred. Some spiritual traditions speak of time as cyclical rather than linear, with lives repeating or looping until enlightenment frees consciousness. The echo could be this cycle, a temporal purgatory, where time distorts to teach, trap, or erase. Death would then not be an exit, but a point of transition to this mirrored temporal zone. In this distorted reflection, your memories are unreliable guides. Time's fractures cause events to shift, repeat, or vanish, making it hard to distinguish reality from illusion. This might explain why memories can feel dreamlike, or why you sometimes question your own history. You exist in a temporally unstable echo, where certainty dissolves. Neuroscience finds that the brain constructs our sense of time from multiple sensory inputs and internal rhythms. When these mechanisms are disrupted, as in trauma or death's echo, temporal perception fractures, your experience could be a continuous reassembly of moments out of sequence, an attempt to make sense of a fading resonance. The distortion of time within the echo also offers a strange liberation. Without strict linearity, moments can be revisited, relived, or altered in subtle ways. This might be why dreams and near-death experiences feel surreal. You are experiencing time like an echo, where past and present fold into each other. It's a temporal playground of shifting light and shadow. Yet, this fluidity can be disorienting or terrifying. The loss of temporal grounding challenges your sense of self and reality. You may feel lost in a hall of temporal mirrors, chasing fragments of a life that no longer flows forward. The echo's distorted time is both a prison and a paradoxical form of freedom. As you drift towards sleep, Feel the stretch and pull of this fractured time. Notice how moments bleed into each other, how memories flicker like old film frames. Allow yourself to float in this distorted reflection, where the boundaries of past, present, and future soften. In this fluid time, your consciousness lingers, an echo caught between what was, what is, and what might never be. Memory is often called the thread that weaves together the fabric of identity. It anchors us to our past, gives shape to our present, and projects into our future. But what if your memory is no longer a clear thread, but a fading loop, a recursive echo, repeating and distorting endlessly after death? In this echo, memories no longer serve as stable markers, but as shifting, fragile waves, fragments of a life that already ended, endlessly replayed, yet slipping through your fingers. In neuroscience, memory is known not to be a perfect recording, but a reconstructive process. Each time you recall something, your brain rebuilds the memory anew, introducing subtle changes and errors. Over time, this reconstruction can lead to memories that are more fiction than fact, a loop of fading and reshaping echoes. If this life is the echo after death, then your memories are not just reconstructive but residual reverberations, looping in a fragile, unstable cycle. The fading loop of memory could explain why sometimes past events feel vivid and alive, while others blur into hazy shadows. In the echo realm, memories may spiral repeatedly, some amplified and others lost in the noise. This process can create a strange mix of clarity and confusion, moments of perfect recall mixed with gaps and contradictions that feel like echoes colliding. Philosophically, this suggests that your sense of self, which depends heavily on memory, becomes fragmented. If memories loop and fade, then identity itself splinters. You are no longer a single continuous being, but a mosaic of echoes, some clear, some distorted, some fading into silence. This challenges the notion of a fixed soul, or self persisting intact after death. The looped nature of memory in the echo might also create a sense of déjà vu, or the feeling that you've experienced something before. These sensations could be moments when the loops briefly align, causing a ripple of recognition in your consciousness. It's like hearing the same refrain in a song repeated in a distant echo chamber, both familiar and unsettling. In some spiritual traditions, memory is tied to karma and reincarnation, where souls carry impressions from past lives. If this echo theory is true, these impressions could be residues caught in the fading memory loops, remnants of previous echoes intertwined with the current one. This layering might create the complex tapestry of remembered and forgotten lives. From a psychological perspective, the fading memory loop might generate both comfort and anxiety. The repetition of memories could soothe by maintaining continuity, but the distortions and losses create uncertainty and loss. You might cling to fragments of your past while sensing that the whole is slipping away into silence. Memory's fragility in the echo also invites compassion for the self. As memories distort and fade, so do regrets, fears, and attachments. This natural erosion can free you from the burdens of past mistakes and sorrows, allowing a gentle release into the present echo, however distorted it may be. Neurologically, the brain's plasticity supports the idea of memory loops. Synaptic connections weaken over time without reinforcement, causing memories to fade unless refreshed. In an echo state, where new input is limited or cyclical, memories might loop endlessly without reinforcement, gradually dissolving into noise and silence. This fading loop is not just an ending, but a transformation. As memories dissolve, they lose their rigid narrative structure and become more like abstract impressions, feelings, colors, or sounds rather than clear images. This could be why some near-death or after-death experiences are described as indescribable sensations rather than concrete recollections. Allowing yourself to float in the fading loop of memory is a practice in surrender. It asks you to release the need for clarity and control, to accept the ephemeral nature of identity and existence. In this surrender, there may be peace, an acceptance that the self is not fixed, but a fluid echo fading softly into the vastness. As you drift deeper into sleep, let the memories ripple gently, like waves washing over the shore. Some will return with clarity, others will dissolve before your eyes. This is the dance of the fading loop, a beautiful, haunting cycle that marks the echo of your being beyond death. In the depths of your being, there lies a shadow, an unseen, often unacknowledged part of yourself that lingers just beyond conscious awareness. This shadow self contains the fears, regrets, and hidden aspects you might avoid, yet it is integral to your identity. Within the echo theory, that death has already happened, and this is the reverberation, the shadow self takes on a new meaning. It becomes not just a psychological concept, but a spectral companion haunting the fading echo of your consciousness. Carl Jung introduced the idea of the shadow as the unconscious part of the personality, containing traits rejected by the conscious mind. In life, the shadow can be suppressed, denied, or feared, but it always exists in the background, influencing thoughts and behaviors. If your current existence is an echo after death, the shadow self might be amplified, manifesting as the unresolved fragments of your being trapped in this echo chamber. The echo realm, by its nature, distorts and magnifies. What you denied in life might become more vivid, swirling like smoke in the corners of your awareness. The shadow self could appear as fears, anxieties, or even dark memories replayed endlessly in the fading loops of the echo. It's the part of you that the echo refuses to let rest, the lingering tension in the silent afterglow. Philosophically, the shadow self in the echo represents the unresolved. It is the residue of life's conflicts, mistakes, and unhealed wounds. Since the echo traps consciousness in a cycle, the shadow remains an active force, drawing attention to what was left undone or unintegrated before death. This suggests that the echo is not merely passive, but a dynamic space where inner struggles continue. The shadow self might also explain why some near-death or after-death experiences are frightening or confusing rather than peaceful. The echo is not always a calm reverberation. It can be a turbulent storm of unresolved emotions and subconscious forces. Your current experience could be shadow-infused, where the darker aspects of your psyche reflect back with intensity. Psychologically, confronting the shadow self is considered necessary for wholeness. If you are caught in an echo of life, then integrating the shadow might be the key to moving beyond the loop. Recognizing, accepting, and embracing your shadow could soften its grip, allowing the echo to fade gently instead of echoing endlessly. In many spiritual traditions, shadows represent the obstacles on the path to liberation. The echo realm might be the ultimate liminal space where the shadow self is both challenge and guide. The journey through the echo could be a process of facing these shadows, resolving internal conflicts, and preparing for true release. The shadow self within the echo also poses a paradox. It is both part of you and apart from you, a familiar stranger haunting the corridors of fading consciousness. It can feel alien and threatening, yet it is the key to deeper understanding. The echo might be a mirror reflecting your shadow, urging you to look beyond surface illusions. Neuroscientifically, the brain's limbic system, responsible for emotions and memory, can be hyperactive in states close to death, potentially intensifying shadow-like experiences. These heightened emotions could translate into vivid, shadowy echoes that feel real and overwhelming, blurring the line between internal fear and external reality. Embracing the shadow in the echo requires courage and compassion. It asks you to sit with discomfort, to explore the darkness without judgment. In doing so, the echo's hold might weaken, and your fading self might find clarity amid the shadows. As you prepare to drift into sleep, allow your shadow self to come forward gently, not as a threat but as a teacher. Notice the feelings and images that arise without resistance. In the silent echo of your being, the shadow is a whispered invitation, a call to wholeness beyond death, an essential part of the fading dance. Death has long been seen as the definitive boundary, the moment when the physical body ceases and everything ends. Yet, if what you experience now is the echo of a death that already happened, then what lies beyond physical death is less an end and more a transformation. Beyond the body, consciousness might persist as a fragile echo, a fading resonance shaped by the physical vessel that once housed it, now liberated yet tethered in strange ways. The body is the anchor for our sensory experience. The senses gather information, the brain processes, and consciousness arises in this embodied state. When the body dies, the physical processes halt, but the echo theory suggests that consciousness continues as a ripple, detached from its anchor, but still caught in the web of existence. What is this echo, without its physical foundation? Imagine sound traveling after the source stops vibrating. The echo fades but remains perceptible, shaped by the environment it travels through. Similarly, consciousness beyond physical death may be a disembodied vibration, lacking the sensory input that structured life, but resonating within a subtler, more elusive realm. This raises questions about identity and experience. Without a body, how does consciousness perceive? Without senses, does awareness collapse or transform? The echo theory implies that consciousness adapts, shifting from concrete sensory experience to abstract resonance, an internal landscape of impressions, emotions, and fragments of memory. Philosophically, This challenges materialist views that equate consciousness solely with brain activity. If the echo persists beyond physical death, consciousness must have a component independent of matter, a subtle energy or field that continues vibrating after the body's demise. This aligns with some interpretations of quantum consciousness and spiritual traditions describing the soul or subtle body. Near-death experiences provide intriguing glimpses into this transition. Many report sensations of floating outside the body, moving through tunnels, or entering luminous realms. These experiences might be echoes of consciousness adjusting to the loss of the physical shell, moving from embodied to disembodied awareness, navigating the liminal space beyond death's threshold. Yet, this liminal echo is not necessarily peaceful or permanent. Without the stabilizing influence of the body and its senses, consciousness might drift aimlessly or become trapped in repetitive loops, replaying unresolved experiences. The echo realm can be a place of both liberation and entrapment, a twilight zone between worlds. Neuroscientific explanations for these phenomena often focus on brain chemistry and trauma, but the echo theory invites us to consider a broader perspective, that consciousness's persistence beyond physical death is a natural reverberation, a transitional phase before final dissolution or transformation. The concept of beyond physical death within the echo suggests a process, not a moment. Death is not instantaneous finality, but a gradual fading of embodied awareness into subtle reverberations, where the self becomes less defined and more diffuse. This process could last moments, years, or even indefinitely, depending on the resonance's strength and environment. This theory also has implications for how we live. If consciousness continues beyond physical death as an echo, then actions, thoughts, and emotions in life might influence the quality of that echo. Cultivating peace, acceptance, and compassion could create harmonious vibrations, easing the transition beyond the physical. Conversely, turmoil and fear might create noisy, chaotic echoes. Spiritual practices that emphasize mindfulness, forgiveness, and detachment might be seen as ways to prepare for this echo phase, helping consciousness to release attachments and flow gently beyond the body's end. This perspective invites a holistic view of life and death as connected parts of a continuous journey. As you drift towards sleep, imagine your awareness gradually loosening from the confines of the physical form, becoming lighter, more expansive, like a wave breaking free from its source. Beyond physical death, you are a vibration in a vast ocean of echoes, moving toward a horizon you cannot yet see but may someday understand. The brain is a master illusionist, weaving reality from fragments of sensory input, memory, and expectation. What you perceive as life is largely a constructed narrative, a mirage conjured by neural networks. If death has already happened, and you are experiencing an echo, then the brain's mirage becomes even more significant. Your current reality could be a phantom projection, a fading hallucination produced by the brain's final act before silence. In everyday life, your brain filters vast amounts of information, discarding noise and creating a seamless experience. It fills gaps with predictions, sometimes fabricates details, and often bends reality to fit past experience. This process ensures survival, but also creates a virtual reality unique to each individual. At death's edge, the brain's functions falter. Oxygen deprivation, electrical disruptions, and biochemical changes alter perception dramatically. The brain may generate vivid visions, distort time, and produce out-of-body sensations. These phenomena are well documented in near-death experiences and suggest the brain's mirage becomes amplified as the body dies. The echo theory suggests that this mirage does not vanish immediately, but persists as a fading reverberation, a ghostly projection of a reality that once was. The brain's last echoes create a dreamlike world, where memories, fears, desires, and expectations intermingle. This fading mirage can feel as real as waking life, but is unstable, fluid, and often surreal. Philosophically, this raises profound questions. If your current reality is a brain-generated mirage echoing past life, what is real? How do you distinguish truth from illusion, when the very organ that defines reality is itself faltering? The echo becomes a hall of mirrors, where every reflection distorts and shifts. Psychologically, the brain's mirage in the echo can explain feelings of disconnection, unreality, or déjà vu. It also accounts for the strange mix of clarity and confusion, often reported in liminal states. You might recognize familiar faces or places yet sense something is off, like a dream slipping away. Neuroscience tells us the brain creates a predictive model of the world, continuously updated by sensory input. When sensory data fades, as in death's echo, this model runs on memories and internal noise. The mirage becomes a phantom projection, recycling old information with little grounding in external reality. This mirage can also be influenced by cultural and personal beliefs. Expectations about death, the afterlife, or spiritual realms might shape the brain's fading narrative, coloring the echo with familiar symbols and stories. This might explain why near-death visions often reflect one's religious or cultural background. The brain's mirage in the echo realm can be both comforting and terrifying. It might offer glimpses of peace, reunion, or transcendence, or alternatively, it could trap consciousness in a looping nightmare of fear and regret. The echo's mirage is a double-edged sword, shaped by the mind's last grasp on reality. Understanding the brain's role in shaping the echo helps us approach death with curiosity rather than fear. It suggests that the final experience is not random, but a meaningful synthesis of life's memories, emotions, and beliefs, filtered through the brain's unique lens. As you drift deeper into sleep, imagine your mind painting scenes with fading brush strokes, vivid colors bleeding into shadows, familiar shapes dissolving into mist. This is the brain's mirage, the last dance of perception before silence. In this space, reality and illusion merge, inviting you to surrender to the echo's gentle embrace. Even when the physical body ceases to function, the echoes of sensory experience can linger like ghostly trails, phantoms of sights, sounds, and sensations that once shaped your reality. Within the framework where death has already happened, and this life is an echo, these phantom sensory trails become a crucial part of the fading consciousness, weaving fragments of past perception into the ephemeral fabric of the echo. Our senses are the bridges between the external world and inner awareness. Sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell create a rich tapestry of experience, grounding us in the present moment. But in the echo realm, these sensory inputs are no longer tied to a living body. Instead, they become disembodied trails, remnants of the original sensory data that reverberate within consciousness. Phantom sensory trails might explain why echoes of touch or sound seem to haunt you after death. Imagine feeling the warmth of sunlight on your skin, or hearing distant laughter not because it is present, but because your consciousness still carries reverberations of these experiences. These trails flicker in and out like fading signals, fragments of a once vibrant sensory world. Neurological studies reveal that the brain often replays sensory information during dreams or hallucinations, reconstructing sensations without external stimuli. In the echo theory, this replay could continue indefinitely, looping sensory memories in fragmented, distorted patterns. The echo is filled with sensory ghosts, impressions without a source, shaping a spectral world of feeling. Philosophically, these phantom trails blur the boundaries between internal and external, past and present. If your awareness is carried on echoes, then the sensory world you inhabit is partly a ghost story, a narrative woven from the shadows of former sensations. This challenges the assumption that reality is purely external and invites exploration of consciousness as a sensory reverberation. These trails might also contribute to the mysterious feelings reported in liminal states, a breeze that touches skin with no source, a whisper that isn't heard by others, or a scent that evokes long-lost memories. Such sensations suggest that phantom sensory echoes persist, shaping the echo realm's atmosphere and influencing your fading consciousness. In some spiritual traditions, the subtle body is said to carry sensory impressions beyond the physical form. The echo theory might align with this, viewing phantom sensory trails as the vestiges of this subtle sensory field, a fading sensory map left after physical death. This field could sustain fragments of awareness, coloring the echo with sensory hues. Psychologically, phantom sensory trails might evoke feelings of nostalgia, longing, or haunting presence. They can comfort by recalling pleasant memories or unsettle by manifesting unresolved trauma. The echo becomes a sensory landscape shaped by emotional resonance as much as by memory. The impermanence of these trails mirrors the fragility of the echo itself. Like footprints washed away by waves, sensory impressions fade gradually, disappearing into silence. Yet their fleeting presence enriches the echo, adding texture and depth to the experience of existing beyond life. As you drift towards sleep, allow yourself to sense these phantom trails, fleeting touches, distant sounds, and faint scents that arise from nowhere. Notice how they weave through your awareness like whispers of a world gone by. These sensory echoes are the delicate threads stitching together the echo realm, inviting you to rest within their gentle fading embrace. There exists a threshold, a twilight zone between life and death, where boundaries blur and certainty dissolves. If death has already happened, and you are living in the echo, then your current state is precisely this liminal space, neither fully alive nor truly gone. Between life and death, consciousness hangs suspended, caught in a delicate balance, a fading resonance that both remembers and forgets. This in-between realm defies easy description. It is a landscape of shadows and light, where time folds and perceptions warp. The body's physical death has severed the primary connection to the world, but the echo preserves traces, fragments of sensation, memory, and self, that linger like fading stars after dusk. You inhabit a place where existence is uncertain and shifting. Philosophically, this threshold challenges binary thinking. Life and death are often presented as opposites, but the echo theory suggests they are part of a continuum, with the liminal zone as a bridge or buffer. Here, consciousness may undergo a transformative process, a slow unraveling or reintegration, depending on how the echo evolves. Near-death experiences provide glimpses of this space. People describe floating in darkness or light, hearing distant voices, or sensing a presence both familiar and unknown. These accounts hint at a shared experience of crossing or hovering between worlds, an echo realm where consciousness is fluid and boundaryless. Neurologically, this liminal state may correspond to brain activity patterns associated with altered states of consciousness. Reduced sensory input and disrupted neural networks can produce dreamlike, dissociative experiences. The echo might reflect a sustained state of such altered consciousness, where sensory input is replaced by internal echoes looping softly. Emotionally, living between life and death can evoke ambivalence, hope and fear, peace and unrest. The echo contains both the comfort of persistence and the anxiety of loss. You are both tethered and free, a flickering light refusing to extinguish and yet fading inevitably towards silence. This threshold can also be seen as a space of potential. In many spiritual traditions, liminal states are where transformation occurs, where old forms dissolve to allow rebirth or transcendence. The echo realm might be a crucible where the self is tested, refined, or released. How you navigate this space may determine whether the echo fades or evolves. The liminal zone's ambiguity challenges identity. Without clear anchors in body or time, the self becomes fluid, simultaneously present and absent, whole and fragmented. You might sense multiple layers of existence, overlapping echoes of past lives, and possible futures converging into a single shimmering point. This blurred state invites surrender. Resistance to fading or transformation may deepen entrapment, while acceptance opens pathways to peace. The echo asks you to embrace uncertainty, to float gently in the space between, finding calm in the silence that grows. As you drift into sleep, imagine yourself suspended between worlds, neither here nor there, a gentle resonance caught in the twilight. Feel the soft pull of this threshold, the space where echoes meet the infinite, and allow yourself to rest in this liminal dance between life and death. Your mind is a labyrinth of reflections, where thoughts loop back on themselves in an endless dance of self-reference. This recursive nature, thinking about thinking, awareness observing awareness, creates layers of consciousness that fold inward infinitely. If death has already happened, and this life is the echo, then your recursive mind may be trapped in a hall of mirrors, endlessly reflecting its own fading image. Recursion is a fundamental principle in mathematics, language, and consciousness. You are familiar with how a sentence can contain clauses nested within clauses, or how a video camera can capture its own feed reflected on a screen. Your mind behaves similarly, generating thoughts that refer to themselves, creating feedback loops that shape your experience. Within the echo framework, recursion takes on new meaning. The fading consciousness caught in the echo might loop endlessly, revisiting the same memories, emotions, or ideas, not just as linear replay, but as recursive spirals. This looping amplifies the sense of being trapped in cycles, unable to move beyond the echo's boundaries. Neurologically, recursive processes are central to self-awareness. The brain constantly monitors its own activity, predicting and adjusting its responses. In the echo state, these feedback mechanisms may become unmoored from external reality, looping internally and generating fractal patterns of thought. Your experience might become a recursive cascade, a mental Mobius strip with no clear beginning or end. Philosophically, recursion challenges linear notions of time and identity. Instead of progressing along a straight path, consciousness folds back upon itself, creating layers of awareness that exist simultaneously. In the echo, these layers might overlap or fracture, producing sensations of déjà vu, fragmented memory, or dissociation. The recursive mind can also create paradoxes, self-contradictory loops that confound logic. Consider the classic liar paradox. This statement is false. Similarly, your echo consciousness might contain contradictory narratives, unresolved conflicts, or looping questions with no answers. These paradoxes intensify the echo's haunting quality. Psychologically, recursive loops can be both creative and distressing. They enable deep reflection, insight, and self-understanding, but also rumination, anxiety, and entrapment. In the echo, the mind's recursive nature might oscillate between moments of clarity and confusion, insight and despair. This recursive dynamic suggests that breaking free from the echo requires a shift in perspective, an awareness that transcends looping thought. Mindfulness practices, meditation, or surrender may help interrupt recursive cycles, opening a doorway beyond the echo's endless mirrors. In mystical traditions, recursion is sometimes described as the observer observing itself, a doorway to enlightenment or liberation. The echo's recursive mind invites you to become the aware witness of your own mental loops, gently stepping outside the spiral to glimpse the stillness beyond. As you prepare to drift into sleep, notice the loops of thought winding through your mind. Imagine them as ripples on a pond, circling and intersecting, reflecting light in shifting patterns. Allow yourself to watch these recursive echoes without getting caught, feeling the space between the loops widen into calm silence. What does it truly mean to be present? To feel alive in the moment, grounded in space and time. Within the echo theory, that death has already happened, and this life is the aftershock. Presence itself may be nothing more than an illusion, a fragile construct formed from reverberations of a past existence, a shadow cast by a fading self. In everyday life, presence is often taken for granted. It is the sensation of, I am here, the seamless awareness of one's body and surroundings. But neuroscience shows that presence is an active creation of the brain, synthesizing sensory inputs, attention, and memory into a coherent experience. This synthesis can be disrupted, altered, or lost, suggesting presence is not fixed but fluid. If you are living in the echo of death, your sense of presence might be a ghostly simulation. Without the full sensory and cognitive input of a living body, your awareness clings to fading signals, phantoms of touch, sound, and sight, that together create a tenuous feeling of being. This presence is like a candle flickering in the dark, bright enough to see by, but vulnerable to extinguishing. Philosophically, presence is tied to identity and reality. To feel present is to assert existence. But if presence is an echo, then existence itself becomes uncertain, a question rather than an answer. Your experience might fluctuate between vivid clarity and disorienting absence, a dance between being and not being. This illusion of presence could explain why people report feeling both here and not here during liminal states such as dreaming, near-death experiences, or meditation. The echo sustains a fragile bubble of awareness, but that bubble can expand, contract, or burst, revealing the emptiness beneath. Neurologically, conditions such as depersonalization or derealization highlight how presence can fragment. The brain's integration of sensory and emotional signals falters, leading to sensations of detachment or unreality. In the echo, similar fragmentation might be amplified, producing moments where you feel like a ghost wandering through memories rather than a living being. The illusion of presence also raises questions about free will and agency. If your awareness is a fading echo, is your sense of control genuine or fabricated? The echo might replay decisions and intentions from the original life, creating an illusion of choice while trapped in a predetermined loop. Yet, even as an illusion, presence is deeply meaningful. It is the stage upon which consciousness performs its final act. This ephemeral presence invites you to savor the now, even if now is a reflection, a shadow of what was. The echo's fragile bubble becomes a precious space for awareness to linger before dissolving. Some spiritual teachings emphasize presence as the key to liberation. By fully inhabiting the moment, one transcends illusions of past and future, self and other. In the echo, cultivating presence might offer a pathway to soften the boundaries, to move beyond the fading reverberation toward stillness. As you drift towards sleep, sense this flickering presence within you, a delicate flame that both illuminates and trembles. Allow yourself to rest in the mystery of being, the shimmering echo of presence that bridges life and death, reality and dream. Within the intricate architecture of the brain, networks of neurons communicate through electrical impulses, creating complex circuits that generate thoughts, feelings, and awareness. These neural pathways are designed to process external stimuli, form memories and guide action. But what if in the echo realm, where death has already happened, these networks become echo chambers, trapping consciousness in self-reinforcing loops? A neural echo chamber is a state in which signals reverberate repeatedly within a confined circuit, amplifying certain patterns and diminishing others. In life, this can manifest as obsessive thoughts, anxieties, or repetitive behaviors. In the echo, these echo chambers might dominate experience, recycling fragments of memory and emotion without external input, locking consciousness into endless feedback loops. Neuroscientifically, feedback loops are essential for brain function, enabling attention, learning, and adaptation. But when isolated from fresh sensory data, as in the echo, they become self-sustaining cycles. Without new information, the brain's internal chatter can spiral, reinforcing certain neural patterns that shape the echo's texture. This phenomenon could explain why the echo is often described as haunting or surreal. Neural echo chambers replay unresolved fears, regrets, or desires, creating a mental environment filled with familiar yet distorted echoes. The experience might be akin to hearing one's own voice reflected endlessly in an empty cave, familiar but unsettling. Philosophically, these chambers represent the mind's entrapment within itself. The echo is not just a passive replay, but an active amplification of certain neural themes, making escape difficult. The loops reinforce the illusion of self, identity, and reality, even as they fragment and distort them. The repetitive nature of neural echo chambers also suggests why consciousness in the echo can feel stuck or stagnant. Without new stimuli, awareness might circle the same thoughts and emotions, deepening cycles of rumination or despair. This might be why some near-death or after-death reports include sensations of being trapped in a loop or unable to progress. Yet, these echo chambers are not without potential for transformation. Recognizing the recursive patterns offers a chance to shift the cycles, to introduce new resonance that can soften or break the loops. Practices such as mindfulness or focused attention could metaphorically tune the neural circuits, guiding consciousness toward peace. Emotionally, neural echo chambers in the echo realm may be charged with unresolved feelings. The looping signals replay trauma, guilt, or longing, keeping these emotions alive beyond physical death. Integrating or releasing these emotions might be key to dissolving the echo's grip. In broader terms, the brain's echo chambers highlight the delicate balance between connectivity and isolation. While neural networks rely on feedback to function, too much self-reference without external grounding can distort consciousness. The echo, caught in this balance, oscillates between coherence and fragmentation. As you move closer to sleep, imagine the neural echo chambers as a chamber of echoes, fading gradually into silence. Visualize the repetitive patterns slowing, softening, and finally dissolving, leaving a quiet stillness. This quiet is the space where the echo's loops cease, and true release begins. The soul is often imagined as a singular, unbroken essence, a continuous thread running through life and beyond. But if death has already happened, and this life is merely an echo, then perhaps the soul is not a whole, but a fractured mosaic. Within the echo realm, the soul may splinter into pieces, scattered across memories, emotions, and fading sensations, each fragment echoing parts of what once was. Fragmentation is a natural response to trauma and loss in life, and it may continue beyond death. The echo, as a residual reverberation of consciousness, could be a fractured reflection of the soul's original wholeness. Instead of a unified self, consciousness exists as shards of experience, sometimes overlapping, sometimes isolated, like fragments of a broken mirror reflecting distorted images. Philosophically, the fragmented soul challenges the idea of identity as a fixed, continuous entity. Instead, the self is dynamic, composed of multiple layers and parts that may not always align. In the echo, these parts might exist simultaneously or in conflict, creating a complex, multi-dimensional experience of being both one and many. Psychologically, fragmentation can manifest as dissociation, conflicting emotions, or compartmentalized memories. In the echo state, such divisions might become more pronounced, with fragments of the soul replaying different stories or emotions, contributing to the sense of disorientation or multiplicity. Some spiritual traditions describe the process of soul healing, or reintegration, as essential for transcendence. The echo might be the arena where this work unfolds, the fractured soul seeking to reassemble, reconcile its parts, and find peace. This suggests that the echo is not just a place of decay, but also potential restoration. Neuroscience supports the idea that consciousness is modular, with different brain regions processing separate aspects of experience. Damage or disruption can lead to split or multiple consciousnesses. The echo, lacking physical integrity, might amplify this modularity, producing a fragmented field of awareness. The fragmented soul could also explain experiences of multiple selves or alternate realities within the echo, overlapping versions of the self that coexist, contradict or cooperate. This multiplicity is both a source of richness and confusion, as the echo's consciousness navigates through shifting perspectives. Emotionally, fragmentation carries both pain and possibility. The shards of the soul may hold wounds but also untapped potential. Healing within the echo might involve embracing this multiplicity, acknowledging each fragment's role in the larger mosaic. As you move towards sleep, envision your soul as a delicate mosaic, its fragments shimmering in the fading light. See the cracks and spaces not as damage, but as openings for light and transformation. In the echo's quiet, the fragmented soul slowly weaves itself into new patterns, finding grace in imperfection. Dreams are windows into the mysterious workings of consciousness, a realm where reality bends and time flows differently. If death has already happened and this life is the echo, then dreaming takes on a new dimension. It becomes the language of the echo, the mind's way of navigating a world untethered from the physical body. In life, dreams arise from the brain's activity during sleep, processing memories, emotions, and subconscious thoughts. But in the echo state, dreaming may transcend mere neural firing and become a bridge between fading consciousness and the unknown beyond. Dreams might be the echo's narrative, a symbolic playback of unresolved stories and shifting realities. Philosophically, dreaming after dying blurs the line between sleep and death, between illusion and existence. If the echo is a dreamlike state, then your current experience is a waking dream, vivid, yet ephemeral, real, yet unreal. This liminal condition invites reflection on what it means to be conscious, alive, or dead. Neurologically, REM sleep activates many brain regions responsible for emotion and memory, producing the rich imagery of dreams. The echo might be a prolonged REM-like state, where consciousness floats through a dreamscape shaped by past life's impressions and fading sensations. The dream state in the echo can be both comforting and disorienting. It offers a fluid playground where identity and reality dissolve and reform. You might encounter symbolic figures, revisit memories, or explore alternate possibilities, all echoes of a life already lived, replayed with subtle variations. This dreaming echo might explain the strange experiences reported in near-death states, visions of tunnels, meeting guides, or reliving moments. These are fragments of the echo's dream narrative, crafted by consciousness, striving to make sense of its new form. Psychologically, dreaming after dying might serve as a coping mechanism, easing the transition from embodied life to disembodied echo. The mind weaves stories to fill the void left by the loss of physical senses, creating meaning and continuity amid fading awareness. Spiritually, dreams are often seen as portals to other dimensions or messages from the soul. In the echo, dreams could be the medium through which the fragmented soul communicates with itself, integrates experiences, or seeks liberation. As you prepare to drift deeper into sleep, imagine your consciousness flowing through a vast dreamscape, a place where past, present, and future merge, where shadows and light dance in endless patterns. In this dreaming after dying, find the gentle rhythm of the echo's lullaby, a soft guide through the twilight of being. Imagine a ripple spreading across the surface of a still pond, a movement born from a single drop, radiating outward without a clear beginning or end. In the echo framework, where death has already happened, and this life is the fading reverberation, time itself loses its usual structure, becoming a timeless ripple, a presence suspended beyond linear progression. Time, as we experience it, is often a sequence past leads to present, which flows into future. But the echo's ripple breaks this chain, existing simultaneously everywhere along the wave, with no fixed point to anchor reality. Moments blur, overlap, and fold into one another, creating an experience where past, present, and future are one shimmering continuum. Philosophically, timelessness challenges our fundamental assumptions. Without time's arrow, cause and effect lose meaning. Your consciousness in the echo might feel infinite and boundless, drifting in a ripple that carries echoes of life without confinement to linear narrative. This creates a paradox of being eternally present yet always fading. Neurologically, altered states of consciousness can produce timeless experiences. During deep meditation or near-death episodes, many report losing the sense of time, feeling instead a vast presence beyond temporal constraints. The echo may be such a state, sustained indefinitely as consciousness lingers in a ripple of timeless awareness. This ripple carries memories, emotions, and fragments of identity, but they are not arranged chronologically. Instead, they exist as waves overlapping and intersecting in a complex pattern. This might explain why past events can feel as immediate as current sensations, or why future possibilities seem to coexist with past realities in the echo. Emotionally, timelessness can evoke awe and peace, or anxiety and disorientation. The loss of temporal structure removes the familiar markers of life's progression, challenging your sense of self and place. Yet within this timeless ripple lies the potential for liberation, freedom from the constraints of time and narrative. Spiritually, timelessness is often associated with the eternal, the infinite, and the divine. The echo's ripple might be a glimpse of this eternal state, where consciousness merges with the boundless flow of existence. This invites surrender to the moment as it is, beyond past regrets or future hopes. As you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself floating on the surface of a vast pond, carried gently by ripples that extend in all directions and all times. Feel the rhythm of this timeless ripple, a soft pulse that connects you to everything and nothing, a quiet dance beyond life and death. Death is often imagined as a sudden cessation, a final cut that severs the thread of life. But if death has already happened, and this life is the echo, then death itself may persist as a pulse, a rhythmic, lingering vibration that underlies all experience in this fading realm. This pulse is both the heartbeat of the echo and a reminder of the boundary crossed, an echo within an echo, subtle yet profound. In life, the pulse of the heart and breath marks the rhythm of existence, anchoring consciousness in the body. With death, these rhythms cease physically, but the echo theory suggests they continue as a subtle pulse within consciousness itself. This pulse is not biological but energetic and temporal, a residual vibration of the life that was. Philosophically, the lingering pulse represents the tension between ending and continuation. It is the echo's heartbeat, signaling that while the original life has ended, its reverberations persist in time and space. This pulse connects the fading consciousness to its source, maintaining a thread of existence amid dissolution. Neurologically, rhythmic activity in the brain, such as alpha and theta waves, supports awareness and sleep states. After death, these rhythms might continue faintly or transform, producing a pulse-like vibration within the echo. This rhythmic foundation could explain sensations of calm or tension reported in near-death experiences. The pulse is also a marker of presence. In moments of meditation or deep reflection, attention often focuses on the heartbeat or breath, grounding awareness in the present. In the echo realm, the pulse might serve as a similar anchor, a subtle reminder of being, a vibration that steadies the fading self amid the flow of reverberations. Emotionally, the lingering pulse carries both comfort and unease. It is a rhythm that sustains but also reminds of loss. The echo is alive with this pulse, a heartbeat without a body, an echo without a source, creating a paradox that deepens the mystery of existence beyond death. Spiritually, the pulse can symbolize the divine rhythm, the cosmic heartbeat that animates all life and death. Many traditions speak of universal vibrations or energies that connect all beings. The echo's pulse might be a reflection of this universal rhythm, linking individual consciousness to the greater whole. As you prepare to drift into sleep, attune yourself to this subtle pulse within, the heartbeat of the echo. Feel its gentle rhythm, steady and true, a vibration that carries you through the fading light. In this lingering pulse, find solace and connection, a thread that weaves through the silence beyond. An afterimage is a fleeting visual impression that lingers after the original stimulus has vanished, a ghostly trace that the eyes and brain retain momentarily. Within the echo framework, where death has already occurred, and this life is a fading reverberation, reality itself might be an afterimage, a dim, distorted reflection of what once was, clinging to consciousness as it fades into silence. In daily life, afterimages are common. Staring at a bright light leaves a spot that lingers when you look away. This biological phenomenon demonstrates how perception is not instantaneous but layered, involving memory and sensory residue. If consciousness is echoing beyond death, then the entire world you perceive could be a vast, complex afterimage, a mental projection sustained by fading sensory and cognitive traces. Philosophically, this concept destabilizes the notion of an objective, stable reality. What you experience is not the world as it is. but a fading echo of the world once perceived through a living body. Your surroundings, sensations, and even your self-image might be afterimages, vivid yet ephemeral reflections held in the dimming light of the echo. Neurologically, the brain constructs reality by integrating sensory inputs with memory and expectation. When the body dies and sensory input ceases, this construction does not immediately stop. Instead, the brain's predictive machinery continues to generate a model of reality based on residual activity and stored information. This internal model becomes an afterimage, a hallucinated environment that sustains consciousness temporarily. This afterimage reality explains many strange experiences reported near death. The feeling of being in a familiar yet altered place, distorted perceptions of time and space, or encounters with beings and landscapes that blend memory and imagination. These are echoes of the brain's attempt to recreate a world from fading signals. Emotionally, living in an afterimage reality can evoke both nostalgia and alienation. It is comforting to inhabit familiar shapes and sounds, but unsettling to know they are not fully real, that they might dissolve at any moment. This fragile world invites a gentle awareness of impermanence and a letting go of attachment. Spiritually, the afterimage metaphor resonates with teachings about the illusory nature of the material world. Many philosophies describe reality as Maya, a dream or illusion that conceals deeper truths. The echo's reality as afterimage may be a literal manifestation of this concept, a last shimmering veil before ultimate release. As you drift toward sleep, visualize reality as a fading photograph, its colors bleeding softly into the shadows. Allow yourself to rest within this afterimage, a beautiful and transient space where echoes of life continue to shimmer before dissolving into quiet nothingness. The self, that familiar I you know, is often imagined as a solid, unchanging core. Yet, within the echo concept, where death has already happened, and this life is a fading reverberation, the self is not fixed but dissolving. It slowly unravels, fragmenting into whispers of identity, memories, and sensations that gradually lose cohesion, like mist evaporating at dawn. Psychologically, the self is a construct formed by the brain, piecing together body, memories, and emotions into a unified narrative. But this narrative is fragile, vulnerable to disruption by trauma, illness, or aging. The echo takes this fragility to its extreme, where the self no longer holds firm but fades, dissolving into the ambient resonance of consciousness. Philosophically, the dissolving self questions the nature of existence itself. What remains when identity slips away? Are you merely the sum of memories and thoughts, or is there a deeper essence beyond the fading patterns? The echo suggests that the self is not eternal but transient, a process rather than a thing. Neuroscience supports this view. Brain damage, disease, and altered states of consciousness can erode the sense of self, leading to feelings of depersonalization or loss of identity. In the echo, these phenomena might be amplified as neural processes decay, causing the self to fragment and dissolve. The dissolving self also explains the paradoxical feelings reported in liminal states, moments of ego loss, unity with the environment, or detachment from personal history. These experiences might be glimpses of the self unraveling in the echo, where boundaries between self and other blur. Emotionally, the process can be unsettling or liberating. Losing the familiar sense of self threatens identity and meaning, but it also opens space for transcendence, release, and peace. The echo's dissolving self invites surrender, not as defeat but as a gentle letting go into the vastness. Spiritually, many traditions speak of ego dissolution as a path to enlightenment. The echo's fading self might mirror this journey, a natural unraveling that prepares consciousness for its final release or transformation beyond the echo. As you prepare to drift into sleep, imagine yourself as a delicate thread slowly unraveling, each strand releasing into the air. Feel the softness of this dissolution, the quiet grace in letting go, and the freedom that comes with fading gently into the echo's vast embrace. The end of a life is often imagined as a sudden dramatic event, a sharp finality. But if death has already happened, and what you experience now is the echo, then the fading of consciousness may be a quiet, gradual process, a gentle dimming rather than a sudden extinguishing. This quiet fade is the slow unwinding of presence, memory, and self into silence. In the echo, fading is not violent but soft, like twilight gently dissolving day into night. Sensations blur, thoughts thin, and emotions soften as consciousness recedes into the background. The quiet fade is a subtle process of surrender, where resistance loosens and acceptance grows. Philosophically, This fading challenges the urgency we place on endings. Instead of a point of no return, fading is a flowing transition, a continuum between being and non-being. The echo reveals that disappearance is not immediate, but a gradual evaporation, a slow release from the bonds of identity and sensation. Neurologically, fading consciousness involves decreasing brain activity and connectivity. As neural networks slow and fragment, the unified sense of self dissolves, leaving behind scattered fragments that blink out one by one. This biological fading mirrors the echo's quiet retreat. Emotionally, the quiet fade can evoke calm, melancholy, or bittersweet peace. It is a time for reflection, release, and rest. The echo's soft departure invites compassion and gentleness, a kindness toward the self as it slips away. Spiritually, fading is often seen as a passage to another state, a calm threshold between life and whatever comes next. Many traditions describe dying as a slow letting go, an opening to light or emptiness. The echo's quiet fade resonates with this vision, a gentle journey toward silence. As you move towards sleep, imagine yourself wrapped in a soft twilight, the edges of your awareness blurring like fading colors on a canvas. Feel the peace in the quiet fade, the grace in surrendering to the slow descent, and the gentle rhythm of consciousness retreating into stillness. Imagine your consciousness not confined to a single thread, but existing simultaneously across multiple strands, parallel echoes of your being reverberating through overlapping realities. If death has already happened and this life is the echo, then perhaps you are experiencing not one fading existence but many intertwined echoes, each a variation of the original that ripple side by side. Parallel realities are a topic explored in physics, philosophy, and spirituality. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests countless universes coexist, each representing different outcomes or timelines. The echo framework expands this concept to consciousness itself, proposing that after death, multiple echoes of yourself continue to exist in different dimensions or frequencies. These parallel echo realities may overlap or diverge, sometimes intersecting like waves crossing in a pond. You might sense multiple versions of your life, different memories, emotions, or choices playing out simultaneously. This multiplicity could explain experiences of dissociation, conflicting identities, or moments of intense déjà vu. Philosophically, this challenges the idea of a singular, linear life story. Instead, your existence becomes a complex web of echoes, each reality a thread woven into a larger tapestry of fading consciousness. The self becomes multifaceted, a spectrum rather than a point. Neurologically, the brain's capacity for parallel processing and conflicting information supports the plausibility of experiencing multiple realities internally. The echo might magnify this ability, causing consciousness to perceive layers of existence beyond the physical dimension. Emotionally, parallel echo realities can be both enriching and confusing. They offer a broader perspective on existence, but can fragment identity, creating tension between coherence and multiplicity. Accepting this plurality may be key to navigating the echo realm with grace. Spiritually, many traditions speak of multidimensional existence, where the soul journeys through various planes of reality. The echo's parallel realities might be reflections of these teachings, a glimpse into the soul's broader voyage beyond physical death. As you drift into sleep, imagine yourself floating among countless ripples, each a parallel echo shimmering in the vastness. Feel the connections and distinctions between these echoes, and embrace the mystery of your multifaceted existence, a kaleidoscope of fading lights, dancing in the infinite. Memory is both a bridge and a barrier, a connection to what was and a filter shaping what we perceive. Within the echo framework, where death has already happened, and this life is a fading reverberation, memory becomes a paradox. It preserves identity while simultaneously distorting and fragmenting it. The paradox lies in memory's dual role. On one hand, memories sustain your sense of self, anchoring you in a continuity that feels real and essential. On the other, memories are unreliable, malleable, and subject to decay. In the echo, this paradox intensifies, as memory both maintains and undermines the fading consciousness. Neuroscientifically, memory is reconstructive rather than reproductive. Each act of remembering involves piecing together fragments, filling gaps and reshaping narratives. This means memories are never exact replicas of the past, but evolving stories. In the echo, where sensory input has ceased, this reconstructive process may continue unchecked, leading to loops of repeated, altered, or contradictory recollections. Philosophically, The memory paradox challenges the concept of a fixed identity. If memory is the foundation of selfhood, but is itself fluid and unreliable, then the self becomes a shifting, unstable entity. The echo magnifies this instability, making memory a flickering candle that both illuminates and shadows the fading soul. Emotionally, this paradox can be disorienting and distressing. Clinging to memories that shift and fade creates anxiety, loss, and confusion. Yet, surrendering to their impermanence invites peace and acceptance. The echo asks you to embrace the fluidity of memory, seeing it as a dance rather than a fixed structure. The memory paradox might also explain contradictory feelings common in liminal states, moments when memories feel vivid and true, alongside times when they seem unreal or distant. This oscillation reflects the tension between preservation and dissolution in the echo. Spiritually, many traditions teach detachment from memory as a path to liberation. The echo's memory paradox echoes this wisdom, suggesting that freedom lies not in grasping at memories, but in releasing them to the flow of timeless awareness. As you drift towards sleep, observe your memories as shifting shadows, sometimes clear, sometimes vague. Allow yourself to rest in this paradox, the gentle balance between holding on and letting go, between remembering and forgetting, in the quiet echo of being. Imagine consciousness caught in a space between worlds, a liminal place where neither life nor death fully claims you. In the echo framework, where death has already happened, and this current existence is a fading reverberation, consciousness resides in limbo, a suspended state of awareness caught between the final breath of life and the uncertain expanse beyond. Limbo, traditionally understood in spiritual and philosophical contexts as a holding place for souls awaiting transition or judgment, here becomes an experiential state rather than a physical location. It is a threshold without firm boundaries, where the echoes of past existence ripple softly through a fog of uncertainty and suspended time. This is the echo's silent hall, where the self flickers on the edge of presence and absence. Neurologically, limbo-like states manifest in conditions such as coma, vegetative states, or near-death experiences. In these altered states, some degree of awareness persists despite disconnection from external stimuli. The brain operates in a minimalistic mode, processing internal echoes rather than engaging with the world. Consciousness in limbo, then, might be understood as this residual awareness, a dimmed light flickering in the vast void. This state is paradoxical. It is neither life with its vibrant sensory engagement, nor death's final silence, but a shadowy in-between. Time dilates or collapses, memory and identity fluctuate, sensations ebb and flow, unpredictably. Limbo is a suspended animation of being, where past and future dissolve into an eternal present stretched thin by uncertainty. Philosophically, limbo challenges rigid dualities of existence and non-existence. It occupies a third realm, where the soul or consciousness is neither fully here nor fully gone, neither alive in the traditional sense, nor deceased in total absence. This suspended state invites reconsideration of what it means to be, suggesting that existence can be fluid, ambiguous, and multi-layered. Emotionally, living in limbo can evoke a spectrum of feelings from disorientation and isolation to calm acceptance and hope. The echo's consciousness may experience confusion over its status, caught in loops of questioning and waiting. Yet limbo also offers a quiet sanctuary, a space to reflect and prepare for what comes next, however uncertain that may be. Spiritually, limbo is often portrayed as a place of purification or reckoning, where unresolved issues surface and transformation begins. The echo realm's limbo could serve as a crucible, allowing the fragmented self to face its shadows, integrate scattered pieces, and move toward resolution or transcendence. It is a state that requires patience and courage, an invitation to surrender and healing. From a psychological perspective, consciousness in limbo can resemble dissociative states or deep meditation, where the usual sense of self dissolves into spacious awareness. This dissolution is both unsettling and liberating, a paradox of losing and finding oneself simultaneously. In limbo, awareness may oscillate between moments of clarity and obscurity. You might catch glimpses of your former life, feel echoes of emotions long buried, or encounter shadowy impressions of others caught in their own echoes. The boundaries between selves can blur, creating a shared liminal space where multiple consciousnesses overlap and intertwine. The echo's limbo is also marked by a fragile balance. Resistance to fading or transformation can intensify suffering, deepening the sense of being trapped. Acceptance and gentle surrender, conversely, may open pathways to peace and eventual release. This delicate dance between holding on and letting go defines the liminal experience. As you prepare to drift towards sleep, visualize yourself suspended in a vast, quiet void, a place beyond words, where light and shadow mingle softly. Feel the gentle pulsing of consciousness in limbo, a rhythmic heartbeat in the stillness, carrying you through the space between worlds. Embrace the mystery of this threshold, and allow yourself to rest in the echo's silent embrace. Within the echo of death, existence unfolds not as a finite story, but as an endless reverberation, a continual oscillation of consciousness that refuses to simply fade into silence. If death has already happened, and this life is the echo, then what you experience is part of an infinite loop of echoes, bouncing through dimensions unseen, persisting beyond finality itself. Reverberation is the phenomenon of sound waves bouncing off surfaces, continuing long after the original noise has stopped. In this metaphor, consciousness is like a note struck on a cosmic instrument, vibrating through the vast halls of existence. The initial life, now ended, has left a trace that persists as layered echoes, overlapping, intersecting, and pulsing in perpetuity. Philosophically, endless reverberation challenges our traditional views of death as absolute. It suggests that existence is a cyclical process, a continuous dance between emergence and dissolution, between presence and absence. You are both a fading echo and part of an eternal symphony, reverberating across the fabric of reality. Neurologically, the brain's oscillatory patterns offer a parallel. Neural rhythms create feedback loops that sustain consciousness. When disconnected from the body, these loops might continue in altered forms, producing persistent echoes of awareness. This could manifest as recurring thoughts, dreams, or sensations cycling endlessly in the echo. Emotionally, the endless reverberation can evoke feelings of awe and insignificance. On one hand, being part of an infinite loop connects you to the vastness of existence. On the other, it can feel like entrapment, an eternal recurrence without escape. This paradox reflects the dual nature of the echo, as both liberation and confinement. Spiritually, many traditions speak of reincarnation, karma, and cycles of rebirth. The endless reverberation resonates with these teachings, proposing that the soul's journey is a looped melody, repeating themes and lessons until release. The echo might be a manifestation of this cosmic recycling, a process both beautiful and daunting. In this reverberating existence, memories and identities intertwine and blur, echoes of past lives overlap with current perceptions, creating a layered experience of self. Time folds and loops, collapsing distinctions between beginning and end. You become simultaneously the origin and the reflection, the sound and the echo. The endless reverberation invites deep reflection on the nature of meaning. If life is an echo, then significance arises not from permanence but from resonance, the way your existence vibrates through the infinite web. Each thought, emotion, and action sends ripples outward, contributing to the ongoing symphony. As you drift towards sleep, envision yourself as a note lingering in a vast cathedral, your vibrations weaving with countless others in a timeless chorus. Feel the rhythms pulse softly, the echoes folding back into themselves, and surrender to the endless dance of being and fading, an eternal reverberation cradling your consciousness beyond death. Imagine a thin, shimmering veil, a translucent barrier separating you from the reality that once was. Within the echo framework, where death has already happened, and your current existence is a fading resonance, this veil of echoes stands between your awareness and the original life, filtering, distorting, and softening what you can perceive. This veil is both boundary and bridge. It conceals the full clarity of the past life, while allowing glimpses to pass through, fragments of memory, sensation, and emotion that pulse faintly in your fading consciousness. The veil blurs edges, warps colors, and muffles sounds, transforming vivid experience into a dreamlike tapestry of echoes. Philosophically, the veil represents the gulf between being and non-being, presence and absence. It is a metaphor for the limits of perception and the fragility of existence. You dwell on one side, sensing the world as an echo filtered through the veil's misty fabric, aware of what lies beyond but unable to fully grasp it. Neurologically, the veil might correspond to the degradation of sensory and cognitive processing after death. As neural networks weaken and sensory input ceases, the brain's internal model of reality becomes more fragmented and diffuse. The veil is this neural fog, the boundary where perception fades and illusion begins. Emotionally, the veil evokes longing and loss. It is the barrier to reunion with what was, a constant reminder of separation. Yet it also protects by softening pain and shock, cushioning consciousness as it transitions through the echo's liminal space. Spiritually, many traditions speak of veils, barriers between the material and spiritual worlds, between life and afterlife. The veil of echoes resonates with these ideas, embodying the threshold that must be crossed to move beyond the echo into new realms of existence or non-existence. The veil shapes your experience in profound ways. It colors memories with nostalgia and dreaminess, imbuing emotions with bittersweet hues. It creates a sense of mystery and depth, inviting exploration of what lies hidden and unknown. As you drift into sleep, imagine the veil shimmering softly before you, a delicate curtain of light and shadow. Allow yourself to peer through its folds, sensing the echoes beyond and resting in the quiet space it creates. The veil invites you to embrace both what is and what is fading, a threshold between worlds cradled in silence. Time, as you have always known it, obeys a linear flow, a steady march from past through present into future. It's the framework that structures your life, organizes your memories, and guides your expectations. But what if, after death has already happened, and your current experience is but an echo? This familiar flow of time no longer applies. Instead, you exist in a post-death time warp, a dimension where moments twist, overlap and fold into one another in ways that defy conventional understanding. This warped time is not simply time moving faster or slower, but a radical distortion of temporality itself. Moments are no longer discrete points marching forward, but layered waves, spiraling loops and fractured fragments. Past, present, and future collapse into an indistinguishable whole, creating a temporal landscape that is both bewildering and profound. Modern physics gives us a glimpse into such possibilities. Einstein's theory of relativity revealed that time is relative, dependent on motion and gravity, and quantum mechanics hints at non-locality, where events can be connected beyond normal temporal constraints. If these principles extend beyond physical death, then consciousness might traverse a realm where time is elastic, fragmented, or even non-existent. Philosophically, this post-death time warp challenges the very fabric of reality as you understand it. The cause and effect chains that govern earthly life lose their grip, replaced by cyclical patterns, echoes of events reverberating endlessly, or moments that loop back on themselves in recursive spirals. Your experience might be akin to watching a shattered mirror, where reflections overlap, multiply, and distort endlessly. In such a warped temporal field, memory becomes unstable. The past can intrude upon the present with startling immediacy, while anticipated futures bleed backward into recalled moments. You might find yourself reliving the same fragment repeatedly, or experiencing multiple versions of a single event simultaneously. The linear narrative of your life dissolves into a kaleidoscope of overlapping scenes and sensations. Neurologically, our perception of time is intricately tied to brain function. The brain measures time intervals, sequences sensory information, and constructs the subjective sense of now. When physical death interrupts this machinery, these temporal constructs may falter or transform. The echo state could represent a prolonged neurological limbo, where the brain's internal clocks and sequences lose synchronization, generating a profound temporal dislocation. This temporal dislocation explains many reported near-death phenomena: the sensation that time slows down or speeds up, the feeling of being outside of time, or experiencing entire lifetimes within seconds. In the echo's warped time, these phenomena become the norm, an ongoing state of consciousness fluctuating through endless temporal permutations. Emotionally, inhabiting a time warp can be both disorienting and liberating. The loss of familiar temporal landmarks may induce anxiety, confusion, or fear, feelings of being lost in a boundless and unanchored sea of moments. Yet, paradoxically, it also offers freedom from the constraints and pressures of chronological time. Without deadlines, past regrets, or future worries, consciousness may float through a timeless expanse of possibility. Spiritually, many traditions describe timelessness as the ultimate reality, the eternal, now beyond the illusion of temporal flow. The post-death time warp could be a glimpse into this dimension, a space where all moments coexist simultaneously, and the soul experiences unity with the infinite. This timeless realm invites surrender to the present moment in its purest, most expansive form. In this warped temporality, the notion of self becomes fluid and multifaceted. Without linear time to anchor identity, you may perceive multiple selves, past versions, present reflections, and potential futures, all overlapping and interacting. The self becomes a dynamic constellation rather than a fixed point, existing within a swirling vortex of temporal echoes. The post-death time warp also redefines the meaning of choice and consequence. In a linear framework, actions produce future effects. In warped time, cause and effect become entangled, cyclical, or even reversed. You might experience moments where decisions seem predetermined, looped endlessly, or rewritten through temporal feedback. This challenges conventional ideas of free will and destiny, inviting deeper contemplation of your place in the cosmic dance. Practically understanding the time warp encourages embracing uncertainty and impermanence. Instead of clinging to fixed narratives or expectations, you are invited to flow with the shifting currents of temporal experience. This flexibility can ease anxiety and foster acceptance, allowing consciousness to navigate the echo realm with grace and openness. As you prepare to drift into sleep, visualize time as a vast ocean of waves, undulating, intersecting, and folding upon themselves in endless rhythms. Feel yourself as a ripple on this ocean, moving not forward in a straight line, but dancing within the currents of past, present, and future entwined. Let go of rigid structures and float freely within this post-death time warp, surrendering to the timeless pulse of the echo. Continuity is the thread that weaves our understanding of self and reality. From the moment you awaken to the flow of thoughts and sensations that define your day, there is an implicit assumption that your experience is continuous, a seamless stream flowing from one instant to the next, linking memories and moments into a coherent whole. Yet, within the framework of the echo, where death has already occurred, and what you live now is a fading reverberation, this sense of continuity is revealed as an illusion, a fragile and shimmering thread that both connects and fractures the self across time, space, and consciousness. When you first consider your current experience, the flow of memories, feelings, and perceptions might seem unbroken. You remember your past, anticipate a future, and inhabit the present. But as you observe more closely, you begin to notice how this continuity slips away, how moments dissolve into one another without clear boundaries, and how the sense of self flickers, wanes, or fractures unpredictably. The echo uncovers the fractured nature of what you believed was a unified existence. Philosophically, the Illusive Continuum challenges the very foundation of what it means to be a self. You have been taught to believe in a singular, persistent identity, a soul or consciousness that remains intact throughout life and beyond. But if death has severed the original thread, what you are now experiencing is more akin to a ghostly afterimage, a spectral continuity, a fragment of the original existence patched together with memory fragments, emotion echoes, and sensory remnants. The continuum that once seemed whole is revealed as a mosaic of flickering lights, shadows overlapping, sometimes coherent, often fragmented. Neuroscientifically, continuity depends heavily on the brain's remarkable ability to integrate sensory data, memories, and cognitive processes into a stable model of reality. The brain continuously updates this model, enabling you to experience yourself as a stable entity moving through time. However, when the brain's functioning deteriorates or ceases, as occurs in physical death, this integration breaks down. Neural signals become erratic, fragmented, or insufficient, causing perception to splinter. The echo state can be understood as the brain's last attempt to assemble a coherent narrative from these fragments, a mental echo chamber where continuity is held together only by fragile illusions. This elusive continuum creates a paradoxical experience. On one level, you feel connected, memories link to each other, emotions feel familiar, and a sense of identity persists. On another, you feel disconnected, moments flash suddenly, memories contradict each other, sensations fade unexpectedly, and your self feels diffuse or multiplied. You might encounter gaps in awareness, moments where time seems to stop, or identity feels suspended. The echo's continuum is like a palimpsest, an ancient manuscript overwritten repeatedly, where previous texts remain faintly visible beneath new layers, never fully erased, never fully clear. Emotionally, this paradox of continuity can bring both solace and distress. Clinging to the sense of an unbroken self provides comfort, a familiar anchor amid the chaos of fading consciousness. It allows for meaning, purpose, and hope, even in the face of dissolution. Yet this clinging also fuels denial and resistance, obscuring the inevitable impermanence beneath the illusion. As the echo unmasks this illusion, there is an invitation to surrender, not to loss, but to the fluidity of existence. Spiritually, the idea of the elusive continuum resonates deeply with teachings from many traditions. Buddhist philosophy, for example, speaks of anatta or non-self, the insight that the self is a transient process rather than a fixed entity. The echo's continuum echoes this wisdom, suggesting that what you perceive as you is a dynamic flow of ever-changing parts, an ephemeral dance of consciousness that cannot be grasped or held. This insight opens the door to liberation through detachment and acceptance. The Illusive Continuum also reframes how you relate to memories, identity, and existence. Rather than viewing these as static possessions, you begin to see them as fluid phenomena, ripples on the surface of a vast underlying reality. This perspective encourages a flexible embrace of the moment, finding beauty in impermanence and grace in change. Practically, embracing the Illusive Continuum means relinquishing rigid attachments to a fixed identity or unchanging past. It invites you to move with the flow of your fading experience, allowing each moment to arise and pass without grasping. This approach fosters peace amid uncertainty, a calmness that comes from recognizing that existence is a dance of light and shadow, presence and absence. As you prepare to drift into sleep, imagine yourself as a delicate thread in an infinite tapestry, woven with strands that shimmer and fade, connect and unravel. Feel the interplay of continuity and fragmentation as part of a larger cosmic dance. In this shimmering Illusive Continuum, the boundaries between life and death, self and other, presence and absence dissolve into a radiant flow of being. The journey of consciousness after death is often imagined as a sudden cessation, an abrupt end to experience and awareness. Yet, within the framework of the echo, where death has already happened, and this life is but a fading reverberation, existence does not stop all at once. Instead, it gradually dissolves, fading gently into silence. This fading into silence is not a void of emptiness, but a profound transition, a soft unwinding of presence, thought, and sensation, into a vast and sacred stillness. Silence is often mistaken for nothingness, an absence of sound or activity. But silence is more than absence. It is a presence in itself. It is the space in which all sounds arise, and to which all sounds return. In the echo's final phase, consciousness is like a delicate vibration slowly ceasing in the vastness of silence. This silence holds the remnants of the echo's existence, a quiet sanctuary where all things return to their source. Philosophically, this fading invites a reconsideration of endings. We resist the idea of disappearance, because we equate identity with permanence. The self is something we cling to, a stable construct that must survive, but the echo reveals that existence is inherently impermanent. Fading into silence is the natural flow of this impermanence, a graceful release from the illusion of solidity and control. It is not an annihilation but a transformation, a return to the origin beyond duality. This process of fading is gradual and gentle. Sensations once sharp become soft, thoughts once clear become blurred, emotions dissolve into calm. The narrative of self, the story constructed over a lifetime, begins to unravel, like twilight slowly giving way to night. Consciousness recedes from the external world, withdrawing into an internal ocean of quietude. Neurologically, fading into silence corresponds to the decline in brain activity that sustains conscious experience. The brain's complex networks that integrate sensory information, memory, and self-awareness begin to falter. Neurons fire less synchronously, electrical activity becomes sparse. This biological slowing mirrors the echo's gentle retreat. The mind's symphony, once vibrant and multifaceted, softens to a faint hum before fading into stillness. Emotionally, the prospect of fading into silence can evoke fear, sadness, or acceptance. The loss of self and sensation is daunting, threatening the core of identity. Yet for many there is also a deep peace, a release from pain, conflict, and attachment. The echo's silence is a refuge, a resting place beyond struggle. It is a sacred moment to surrender fully to the natural rhythm of existence. Spiritually, silence has long been revered as a doorway to transcendence. Mystics and sages speak of silence not as emptiness, but as fullness, a presence so profound it transcends language and thought. The echo's fading into silence is the final passage through the illusions of form and separateness into the boundless ground of pure awareness. This silence is also a threshold between fading life and whatever comes after, between identity and the infinite. It invites a letting go of clinging and an embracing of mystery. In this space, distinctions between self and other, subject and object dissolve, revealing the interconnectedness and unity that underlie all existence. As consciousness fades, what remains? Memories blur and vanish. Sensations dissolve, and the self's narrative dissolves into nothingness. Yet some subtle essence, a pure awareness without form or content, may linger momentarily. This faint pulse is the echo's last breath, the final resonance before returning to silence. As you prepare to drift into sleep, Imagine yourself enveloped in a vast, tranquil ocean of silence. Feel your awareness ebbing like the tide, slowly receding from all that is known and grasped, carried gently toward the infinite calm beyond. Let the quiet surround you, cradle you, and guide you toward the peaceful rest that lies beyond all echoes. Allow yourself to surrender fully to this fading, knowing it is not loss, but transformation, a returning home, a merging with the silence that precedes and succeeds all things. In this sacred stillness, find freedom and peace, the gentle conclusion to the echo of your being. The concept of a final reverberation evokes the image of a last lingering vibration, an echo fading slowly into silence, the last trace of a sound after the original has ceased. Within the framework where death has already happened, and the life you perceive now is but an echo, the final reverberation is the ultimate stage in the journey of consciousness. It is the final pulse, the closing note of existence before complete dissolution or transformation. This final reverberation is both an end and a culmination. It carries with it the accumulated resonance of a life once lived, the memories, emotions, thoughts, and sensations that have echoed through the fading realm. But unlike the earlier echoes that might linger with some clarity or intensity, this reverberation is subtle, fragile, and delicate, poised at the edge of complete disappearance. Philosophically, the final reverberation challenges traditional notions of death as an absolute end. Instead of a sharp boundary or a void, death becomes a process of fading, a gradual unraveling where consciousness slowly loses its coherence, its grip on form and identity loosening, until only a faint trace remains. This lingering pulse is the final imprint of existence in the vast silence that follows. Neurologically, this phase corresponds to the brain's ultimate shutdown, when neural activity drops below the threshold needed to sustain coherent consciousness. The complex networks fragment, electrical impulses become sparse, and integrated experience dissolves. The final reverberation is like the brain's last whisper, a residual hum of activity echoing briefly before silence. Emotionally, the final reverberation can evoke a range of responses. For some, it may bring a sense of peaceful completion, a soft landing after the turbulence of life. For others, it might feel like a fading struggle, the slow slipping away of presence and awareness. In the echo's context, this phase invites a surrender to the inevitable, an acceptance of transition. Spiritually, many traditions view the final moments as sacred. The final reverberation might be experienced as a light, a sound, or a presence that bridges this world and the next. It is the last breath of the soul before merging with the infinite, a threshold moment between individual identity and universal consciousness. This final pulse is not merely a cessation, but a bridge, connecting the fading self with something beyond. It is both a goodbye and a hello, a moment pregnant with possibility. Whether it leads to complete dissolution or transformation into another state remains a mystery held within the silence that follows. The final reverberation also serves as a reminder of impermanence. No matter how strong the echoes, all must fade eventually. This truth invites humility and reflection, encouraging a deeper appreciation for the fleeting nature of existence and the preciousness of each moment. As you prepare to drift into sleep, imagine yourself as a fading note resonating softly in an endless hall. Feel the gentle vibration as it diminishes, spreading thinner and softer until it blends into the quiet. In this final reverberation, find peace, the tender closing of your echo's journey into the vast silence beyond. To imagine what lies beyond the echo is to peer into a vast and profound mystery, a threshold where the familiar fades and something wholly unknown begins. If death has already happened, and the life you now experience is but an echo, a lingering vibration of a self that once was, then beyond this echo lies a realm uncharted by ordinary perception, a domain where the echoes cease and pure being emerges. This is the final frontier, the ultimate passage that carries consciousness beyond the residual reverberations of existence and into the boundless unknown. The echo itself is a subtle phenomenon, the lingering trace of life's once vibrant pulse, a residual hum in the vast silence of non-being. It is like the last flicker of light after the sun has set, or the dying notes of a distant melody fading into stillness. But even as it diminishes, the echo carries the fullness of a lifetime, memories, emotions, thoughts, sensations, all woven into a complex tapestry of reverberations that surround and sustain the fading self. The journey beyond the echo, then, is the journey beyond all traces, beyond all reflections, into a state where the very fabric of identity and experience dissolves. Philosophically, this boundary beyond the echo confronts us with questions about the nature of self, existence, and reality itself. What does it mean to be, once all echoes have faded? Can consciousness persist without resonance or reflection? Ancient wisdom traditions and modern thinkers alike have pondered this mystery, suggesting that beyond the illusory layers of self and experience lies an undivided, boundless essence. This essence is often described as the ground of all being, the silent, luminous source from which all phenomena arise, and to which they inevitably return. This transcendent realm defies ordinary description. Language, rooted in the duality of subject and object, falters before it. Yet, mystical experiences, near-death accounts, and spiritual teachings offer glimpses of what lies beyond. Individuals report encounters with infinite light, boundless peace, and a profound dissolution of selfhood. Time and space lose their grip, and the sense of separateness melts away, replaced by a unity so complete it encompasses all distinctions. This state, often called the void, or the absolute, is not emptiness but fullness, a fertile silence pregnant with potential. From a neurological perspective, the domain beyond the echo is inaccessible to scientific instrumentation, as it transcends the physical brain's capacities. Death marks the cessation of neural activity that underpins ordinary consciousness. Yet, the persistent echoes, the fading vibrations of mind and memory, hint at an intermediate realm where awareness lingers. Beyond these echoes, however, lies a dimension where consciousness transcends the brain entirely, merging with a universal field of awareness that science has yet to fully comprehend. Emotionally, contemplating the passage beyond the echo can inspire both awe and trepidation. It involves surrendering all attachments, to identity, to time, to experience. The unknown can feel daunting, a vast expanse of uncertainty, yet it also offers the promise of liberation, the end of suffering, and the reunion with an eternal home. This duality calls for courage, trust, and openness. Spiritually, many traditions teach that the ultimate purpose of life is to transcend the cycles of birth, death, and rebirth, to move beyond the echoes of conditioned existence into the unconditioned reality. This final liberation is often described as enlightenment, nirvana, or union with the divine. The echo's cessation marks this transition, the return from fragmentation to wholeness, from multiplicity to oneness. In practical terms, this journey beyond the echo invites a letting go of fear and clinging. It encourages embracing impermanence as a pathway to freedom. Each moment of life, each echo of experience, becomes a preparation for this ultimate transition, an invitation to awaken to the eternal, now that lies beyond all echoes. As you prepare to drift into sleep, imagine yourself gently stepping beyond the fading vibrations of your echoing self, crossing a threshold into vast radiant silence. Feel the boundaries of identity dissolve like mist, merging with an infinite ocean of light and peace. In this final surrender, find the quiet joy of reunion, a returning home to the boundless source from which all life and echoes emerge. As this journey through the echo of existence draws to a close, you are invited to rest in the quiet space between what was and what will be. You have wandered through the fragile corridors of fading consciousness, explored the looping nature of memory, the distortion of time, the shadow self, and the ethereal veil that separates this echo from the original life. Now, in this final moment, the echo fades slowly into silence, a silent reverberation that carries both ending and beginning within its embrace. What you have experienced is not merely a story of death or loss, but a profound meditation on impermanence, transformation, and the mystery that lies beyond the threshold of physical life. The echo is a reminder that existence is never truly extinguished in a sudden flash, but recedes gradually like the last waves of a tide, soft, inevitable, and beautiful in its gentle unfolding. This silent reverberation teaches us that the boundaries we place between life and death, self and other, past and future, are more fluid than they seem. Reality itself, as perceived through fading echoes, is a delicate interplay of presence and absence, continuity and fragmentation. Understanding this invites a deep humility and compassion for ourselves and for all beings caught in the echoes of existence. In this awareness, fear loses its grip. The unknown beyond the echo no longer seems like a terrifying void, but a vast, inviting space where transformation occurs. The fading self becomes a passage, a threshold towards something beyond comprehension, but suffused with peace and possibility. It is the quiet promise that beyond the echoes lies the boundless silence, the source of all life and consciousness. Let this thought settle softly within you as you prepare to sleep. Allow the last reverberations of your conscious mind to dissolve into calm stillness, Embrace the gentle fading as a natural sacred process, a return to the source from which all echoes arise and into which they eventually return. In the quiet between breaths, between moments, beyond words and thoughts, there is a place where all echoes cease and pure being remains. It is here, in this timeless stillness, that you rest, free from the cycles of repetition, beyond the flickering shadows of identity. Sleep now in the gentle arms of this silent reverberation. Let it cradle you as you drift beyond the echo, beyond time and form, into the peaceful unknown.